Welcome to Nursing 575, Maternal, Newborn, and Women's Health Nursing. My name is Dr. Sharon Barber, and I'm wanting to just kind of give you an idea of who I am. Since I've asked all of you for that information, I thought I'd share with you in pictures. I started out in nursing school in my bachelor's degree at Azusa Pacific College, which later became Azusa Pacific University. That was in 1981. And in the picture in the bottom, I'm with my best friend, who's now a nurse practitioner for many years and works for Azusa Pacific also as a preceptor for some of our nurse practitioner students. Um, I loved Azusa Pacific back then, and I love it now, and I'm really blessed to be able to teach at Azusa Pacific, coming from my alma mater. My education beyond my bachelor's degree, I got my Master of Science in Nursing Administration and Education 10 years later through the University of Phoenix online, actually 20 years later. And I loved online learning. That was a great way to get my education when I was still working and trying to fit that in. And it really aligned with what I was wanting to do, which was really to teach. Then I went on later to get my doctorate at Case Western Reserve University. I chose a doctorate in nursing practice versus a PhD because I really enjoy clinical practice and I wanted to stay close to the bedside and to students, and so that was the best match for what my career goals were. It was an intensive program, a hybrid, where you went for a week at a time, went 6 days in a row, very intense, and then when you went back to your home base, then you would complete the rest of your projects online and submit them over the next 2 months. I additionally have certifications as a high-risk inpatient perinatal nurse through the ANCC. I'm also a certified nurse educator and an international board certified lactation consultant. And in the picture, you see my two grandsons tandem nursing. The oldest one didn't want to give it up. He was almost three at the time. Two at the time his brother was born. And he really didn't want to give up nursing. So he nursed throughout the pregnancy, never caused any complications in her pregnancy. If it had, we would have stopped. And then he successfully continued to nurse till his brother was almost 6 months old. When you do tandem nursing, basically the newborn gets to have first dibs on each breast, and then the older sibling gets to come afterwards and get theirs, just because the newborn is the one who needs the fat-rich milk, and the older child is just doing it for comfort more than anything. I started out at Sharp Memorial Hospital when I graduated in 1981 and worked for 6 months in a med-surg unit there. I cried every day. I hated it so much. I knew I didn't want to do sick adults, but everybody in those days said you have to start on med-surg, so I did. I called the nurse manager for labor and delivery every single week that whole time, begging and begging for a job. Finally, at the end of 6 months, she gave me the opportunity, and I've been there ever since. In the pictures on the left, you will see I was pregnant in those pictures, and the patient and the baby and the little boy are friends of mine whose kids are about 2 weeks apart from my kids, both of them, and we are very close friends. In 1992, we moved from the old women's hospital into a brand new building, the Sharp Mary Birch Hospital for Women and Newborns. I've been there 36 plus years now. And I would tell you that if you ever have the opportunity to participate in the building of a new facility and the transition planning and then the actual move, it is a tremendous opportunity. It will teach you a whole different aspect of nursing that you won't get through nursing school or just being a bedside care provider. It really gives you a perspective of the bigger picture of nursing and healthcare. So I encourage you to offer your time if you ever have that opportunity at the hospital that you work in the future. This is my husband and I. We have a blended family, very common in today's society. And I bring that up just because you will experience many different types of families in this course, and it's just something to be aware of and to be prepared for. And usually my question when I see someone at the bedside is, rather than say, oh, are you the baby's father, grandfather, cousin, uncle, brother, I usually just say now, what relationship are you to this baby? Because that way you'll never make a mistake like I have many times in the past. This is my daughter's family. She has two of her own children, and the little girl is her daughter-in-law, or her husband's daughter, and they all live here locally, so I see them all the time, and they are the loves of my life, those cute kids, and I do watch them quite often, babysit them, because they just bring me so much joy. And then this is my son and his wife and their little boy, and he's almost the same age as the littlest one on the other screen, and their little dog Otis, and they currently live in New Mexico, so I do not get to see this grandchild very often, and it makes me sad. I miss him so much. You will learn through this course that my favorite color is purple. It will become clearly evident after the first few days. I also love flowers. I love babies passionately. Anytime I can get a hold of a little baby and hold it, I will. I just adore babies and the miracle of new life and helping mommies and babies to breastfeed and have a happy breastfeeding relationship. I have determined that being a grandma is my superpower. On the left is a picture of the cross out at Point Loma Nazarene campus, and I taught there for a year full time, and I've taught there adjunct for many years. But it just reminds me of my foundation is in Christ, and that is where I get my strength and my faith, and I believe that birth is a miracle and that life is miraculous, and that it is God designed. The human being is just a miracle from God, and when you start learning some of the details in this course that you're going to learn, I think you'll be able to see how miraculous we really truly are, and how much God must have loved us just to create us in the first place. And then on the bottom right where the beach is there with the empty road, it's just that my husband and I love to travel, and so we do travel quite often, and it just is one of those things that is very therapeutic and relaxing for us. So I have shared with you who I am, and I know I asked you to complete a Google document. If you haven't done so, please be sure to add that, because it helps us to get to know who you are and a little about you before we meet you, for both myself and the clinical instructors. So I would appreciate it if you haven't done it, if you would go ahead and do that so that we can know you a little bit more. Next, I want to go over some of the documents. This is a copy of that calendar that I posted on Sakai. This is the abbreviated version of what's in the course syllabus. It's just a little bit easier to look at as far as dates, times, locations, so forth. And basically our class will always be in room 130 unless I tell you otherwise. So you can pretty much know that we'll be in room 130 every week. Occasionally there will be a change. So I just put this in there because it makes it easier to read and follow, other than the one in the course syllabus. And the dates are all the same. And then this is your syllabus, and I just want to go over a few things here. Let me shrink this down slightly for you so you can see a little bit more. Let's go here. The clinical instructors are listed here. These change each semester, so it may not be the exact clinical instructors you have this semester, but that's where you'll find information on your clinical instructor. And these are your student learning outcomes. We have revised these, so I would recommend that you read through this table of relationships and student outcomes that are expected of you of both the bachelor's and the master's level, since you are in a master's program. Sorry, backwards there. And I want to jump next to Your textbooks are listed here. You're required to have the Murray and McKinney book, the Saunders Comprehensive Review. I strongly, highly recommend this book, and I've assigned readings in it along with the Kaplan book because they're very helpful. And I strongly recommend you do all the practice questions because they will really help you to do well on, much better on your exams when you're practicing test taking strategies. These are some other recommendations. One is the APA manual that you're supposed to have anyway for your other courses. And the Maternal and Newborn Nursing Success NCLEX Review Questions is another book you can use. So here's your course calendar and schedule. I honestly feel like this is a little bit busy and hard to read, but let me just give you some pointers. This column here where it says pre-class readings, every week for didactic, you are going to have readings that are expected to be done before you come to class. In addition to reviewing the PowerPoints and videos and other documents, I sometimes put articles in the modules on Sakai. So please make sure that you are going through those and reading them and looking at the PowerPoints, going through them prior to class. There are some weeks where you are going to be doing team tests, and so it's crucial that you have done the readings ahead of time, or you will not perform well as a team or an individual on those tests. Additionally, it helps you to ask better questions in class because you are prepared, because you're familiar with the content. So that goes through the whole course. Every week you'll see what you are required to do before class, but in addition, let me just show you one of them. Let's look at this one here. So after each class session, I will also have readings perhaps, but also some maybe group work or some other assignments. So make sure that you look here because this is where you're going to see what's expected of you after class. And this is usually where I will put the Kaplan and Saunders reading assignments as kind of a review of what we've talked about in class. Also, for the first 5 or 6 weeks, you're going to be doing this continuity case study as teams. So that's where you're assigned which section is due. And so if I assign it this week, it's due. So if it's normal newborn we talk about today, that's not assigned until that day after class. And then it will be due by the following class session. So by the time that you come on week 8, let me see here. The next week on week 8 here is when I will expect you to have contributed to that continuity case study for the normal newborn. And then this week we start on newborn complications and you'll do another section then. So please look carefully at what's pre-class and what's after class assignments and do them accordingly. You'll also see that Kaplan is being assigned here weekly based upon where we are in the course. So please look each week at what's required before and after. And then I'm going to jump down. Let me just show you a couple other things real quickly here. The last couple of weeks of class are a little different. For example, here in week 14, you no longer have clinical. Actually, you don't have it in week 13 either. But you will be having your exam 3 and your Kaplan proctored exam in week 14. In week 15, you're going to be having your cumulative final exam, which is a team final exam, which we'll talk about in class. And then week 16, where we have to assign you a 16th week. So there's a reflection that you're going to be doing, but it's actually going to be due the week before. This is just a placeholder, if you will, for this this week because they require that we list 16 weeks to be consistent with the rest of the university. Here are your assignments. Let me see if I can enlarge this a little bit. Okay, so here are your assignments for the course. Each one is listed with a description, what's expected in order to pass, and how many course points you will get. We'll go over these things in detail in class, but I just wanted to show you that the total for the class is 365 points. The majority, of course, is test points. Kaplan is included in there, and then the case study is part of it, the video reflection, and some clinical documents that you'll be doing, as well as a med test for clinical. This is not the one that the program requires. This is a specific medication test for OB nursing with medications that relate directly to this course specifically. And then I'm going to skip down to the very, very end, right here where we talk about, let's see, this is page 23. And it's where the skills lab section is. So it talks about your skills labs and what you're going to be doing in skills labs. Some of you have already had one, and some of you haven't. And what the readings are prior to the skills lab. The skills lab module is already open on Sakai for you. These are all the skills you're going to be going over. And then simulations are discussed. You'll be doing 2 simulations this semester. The first one is sometime in October, and the second one's in November. The dates are on your calendars, but for simulation 1, these are the pre-simulation assignments, and for simulation 2, you have more pre-simulation assignments, and then post-simulation, you have some work that will be done as well, just as a follow-up to the simulation. Now, the last thing I want to do is go to Sakai real quick and show you the Sakai site. So this is your Sakai site. Your syllabus is located here, of course, along with that calendar I just showed you. There's an assignment that will come up here. That's that course reflection, but that won't come up until the end of the course. I don't open everything at once. I break it up by sections, by exam. So everything that's open right now is for exam 1. Then about a week before exam 1 or at exam 1, I will open all the next section for exam 2. And then at exam 2, I'll open everything for exam 3 and ultimately the final. Each module for the simulation will be opened in advance also for you to prepare for that so that you can be doing that work ahead. I don't want to overwhelm you with all the stuff. I don't want you going too far ahead. The course is structured around normal first, and then complications is the second half of the course. So I want to keep you focused on the normal, working on that, getting a really good solid foundation in the normal things that we expect in pregnancy and newborns and women's health. And then later we will look at what are the complications and how do we deal with those. So just keep your eye out here, and this is where you will see all the different modules open up as it's appropriate, and your simulation modules will come in here also. Your gradebook, of course, you're familiar with gradebook. I'm not going to open that right now because you know what that looks like. Here's your skills day. I try and incorporate a lot of videos in every module that we do because I feel like they're a great way to recap your learning, but they're also a better way for some people to learn is by watching video rather than just doing reading. So please utilize the videos I've provided. If you find others that you think are really great, please let me know because I'm more than happy to upload more if I find that there are others that are really helpful. This is just another example of a particular week, and I think, let me see here. Yeah, it's just got mostly videos, but there's a few other documents. I was trying to find one that has an article for you to read. I'm not sure if any of these do. I don't think any of these actually have articles, but later on there will be some with articles. I know for sure the week of newborn there's articles, and I know on Skills Day there's a couple of articles also. So make sure that you're downloading all those things to read. Okay, I think that's enough. I just wanted to give you a quick overview because we're not going to have time in class to do this part of it. So I hope that that's helpful to you, and I look forward to seeing you that first day in class, and I hope you're as excited as I am, and I look forward to meeting all of you and getting to know you. I'll see you soon.